The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get
He
very
missed
close.
the complete that. It's crazy
Side
stuff.
Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Welcome to the Gentleman's Trophy at Circuit Zolder, and you're watching it live on the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm Joe Peak. With me in the booth today is Ayrton Ellis. Welcome, Ayrton.
Hey Joe, great to be back.
And behind the scenes is our director, Kevin Brown, bringing you all the action on track. As mentioned, we are here at Zolder, and Ayrton, tell us a bit about this track here in Belgium.
Well, this is a very unique track. It's 4 kilometers long and about 10 corners long, and has 3 chicanes, which makes it a very difficult track. A lot of drivers do not like chicanes, but it splits up the track quite a bit, and it has a lot of fast corners as well. We'll be doing 2 races, 20 minutes each, and the grid order will be reversed in the top 10 for the second race, so it should make things interesting with a lot of these chicanes.
Absolutely, and especially with them being such short races, these guys are going to have to hustle to get through. Meanwhile, though, the championship status right now, we've got Kevin Duvel leading at 86 points. Martin van Luzenoord is following close behind at 59 points, 27 points back, although I guess that's a subjective close. He's got a bit of work to do. Steve Clays is at 41 points, 45 points back. Norbert Leitner is at 37 points. And then tied for 5th, we have Guido Decker and Kevin Vakemans at 30 points each. We've got a little under a minute left before qualifying is over, so I'm not entirely sure if we have time to go through a lap guide. I'm going to double check. Yes. Ready to take a lap around. All right, we've got Kevin Brown behind the wheel of the GSRC roof, so let's do a lap around Zolder. Coming down the front stretch, turn 1 is tricky right away. Track drops away from you. The fronts want to understeer, and it's so easy to unsettle the car with that inside curb. 1 leads directly into 2, so get the car to the left and get yourself set up for the exit. Late apex that bad boy, and keep it off those huge bumps on the runoff. Then it's just a matter of keeping your foot down through 3, let it drift out to the curb, and then some slight braking for 4. Really carry your speed through this corner. It's quite fast, and the long straight after is a bad place to let a guy get a run on you. This first chicane is a good place to pass, but too wide will cost a ton of time if you're not clear by the end of the braking zone. Once again, stay away from those large curves on the inside. Your car's going to bounce everywhere if you attempt fate with those. The truly greedy will get a cut course. Up and over the crest, and cut across to set up for the second chicane. This one is so tough to get right, and it always feels like you're waiting forever to make your way through it. Focus on setting the car up for the final right-hander, and as soon as you're done with that, it's a quick lift into this banked corner. A lot of speed you can carry with that camber. 1 more hump and stay to the left, get yourself straightened out, and heavy braking for the hairpin. This is your... Welcome back. Sorry we had to cut that lap off. Unfortunately, we ran out of time here. We're getting ready to go green very soon as the cars get gridded up. We've got Kevin Vakemans on pole after qualifying. Kevin Duvel is sitting in 2nd. Gerrit van den Hooft is in 3rd, Steve Clays is in 4th, and then in 5th we have Matthias van Reef.
In 6th, we have Mark Bent Velzen. 7th, Martin van Luzenoord. 8th, Bob van Sommeren. 9th, Q Decker.
And it looks like we've got the lights up, so we're getting ready to take the green. There drops the flag. They are off. Kevin Vakemans leads them away, but he got a terrible start. He is getting swamped already. Gerrit van den Hooft is trying to look on the inside. He's got a line. It looks like he's going to try and take the lead in the first corner, but he's not quite clear. Everybody's getting all stacked up. Vakemans is still trying to hold on. I think he might have it into this turn 2, Ayrton.
Yep, and meanwhile, Kevin Duvel has dropped back down to 4th. They start to go single file as they go through turn 3 and heading into turn 4. Don't want to go too wide into this fast corner, but a lot of shaking up in these first few corners.
Yeah, there's a number of guys in this series who still don't quite seem to have the standing starts all figured out in these cars. A number of guys have lost places in previous races, especially some of the leaders. But Kevin Vakemans continues to lead with Gerrit van den Hooft in 2nd and Kevin Duvel in 3rd. And we're getting word that DeWick is into the pits. So apparently he's having a bad start.
Yeah, meanwhile, there's a pass in the first chicane. Martin van Luzenoord passed Matthias van Rieth for the 5th place position.
Van Luzenoord is one of the guys that's usually a little bit farther up, so I'm a little surprised to see him as far down as he is. Hopefully he can start to make up ground. He has been fighting for the win in previous times. Right now he's trying to hunt down Steve Clays, but he's a little too far back to make anything happen at the moment. Meanwhile, back up front, Vekeman still leading Van den Hooft, who has dropped a bit on the front stretch before he was quite close, so maybe he's not very good in that final chicane quite yet. Meanwhile, it's pretty tight up front because Duvel is keeping them both honest, and behind them, Steve Clays is not too far back, as we mentioned, and then you've got the gap back to Luzenoord. Behind Luzenoord, it's Matthias van Rieth, who's actually hassling him right now. He seems to be in the best position to try and gain himself a spot.
Yeah, and if we looked at some of the practice and qualifying times, and a lot of these guys, about the top 5 or 6 are within half a second. So these guys are very close to the speed, so we should see them being quite competitive and keeping in a group.
And we've also got word that Pitke is in the pits as well, so a few guys experiencing problems. Van Rieth trying to hold on through that chicane, but he loses some ground behind him. Mark Bentvelman has dropped a bit. He was also quite close. But some of that is just the accordion effect that they experience in the chicanes, Ayrton.
Yeah, meanwhile, Gerrit van Nooft is getting attacked by Kevin Duvel. He made a mistake in the chicane, and Kevin Duvel goes on the inside, and Stephen Clays follows right behind. He's now on the inside, looking to outbrake him into the hairpin. But Van den Hooft is not giving up. He's trying to keep on going, but looks like Stephen Clays might get a better exit. They're still side by side as they start heading into the final chicane. Now Stephen Clays is on the outside, and Van den Hooft is on the inside. They're going to go side by side, and Van den Hooft looks like he's going to get the position back, but he did lose that position to Duvel before.
Fantastic racing from both of those. Just a lot of respect by both those guys, and barely inches between their cars. But awesome job by Van den Hooft to try and recover and keep Clays back there. But he'll have a lot of work to do, it looks like, after losing time with that battle.
Yeah, now Kevin Veckemans has a 2.7 lead over Kevin Duvel. He has a lot of work cut out for him.
Yeah, he's doing good on trying to romp away, and this is what you need to do in these short races, is just put a bit of a gap, make that second place car really work hard to have to try and run you down, especially up near the top of the field where it's a little bit closer in lap times. He's got to push that extra little bit, and we've seen Ayrton, guys pushing on this track, they can get bit pretty hard by some of those chicanes.
Yeah, if you cut those corners a little bit too much, you can get slowdown penalty, and you will lose a lot of time because of these long straights between the corners.
And not only that, you'll see these sometimes they call them sausages, sometimes they call them sleeping policemen, just very high curbs on the very inside. And those have been known to damage some kind of cars. I'm not sure if these guys have been having problems with that, but it can certainly unsettle the car.
Yep, meanwhile, Martin van Luzenoord just made a move into the hairpin on Stephen Clays. Stephen Clays just got attacked by Matthias van Rieth as well. But Martin van Luzenoord, very good braking skills into the hairpin.
Yeah, Van Rieth looks like he's one of the teammates. Says, whoa, Clays makes a huge dive into the chicane and somehow still gets it slowed down. That was from way far back. I don't think Van Luzenoord is going to be very happy about that.
Yep, as he goes to the outside once again as they head across start-finish line, heading to turn 1. He's on the outside. This is a difficult corner to pass on the outside. He breaks a little late, but it doesn't look like he has much for Steve Clays, as Matthias van Rieth is still pressuring on him as he shoots to the inside for turn 2. Doesn't look like he has much to do it, almost make contact. These guys are fighting really hard right now.
Yeah, they know they don't have many laps to try and make anything happen here. And Van Rieth, it looks like he's actually a teammate of Steve Clays, those two with very similar paint jobs on their cars. So they've essentially got a Van Luzenoord sandwich right now, and he's got to be sweating a little bit knowing he's got two guys that will be willing to work together here.
Yeah, it looks like all this battling has let the number 15 car of Mark Bentzvels and catch up to this group as well.
Yeah, he's licking his chops definitely as he's closing in on these guys. He's really going to want them to continue to battle like this and slow each other up. And it really does. I can't recall if we've mentioned it or not, but these chicanes going side by side just eats up your lap time around here.
Just an update on the leaders. Kevin Beckman is now 3.6 seconds ahead of Kevin Duvel, so he's extending that gap at a really good rate.
Yeah, meanwhile, however, Van Luzenoord is just not giving up. He took a little bit of a look into the hairpin, but he's not close enough to make it happen here into the final chicane. Let's see if he can get a good enough stretch coming onto the front straightaway here. He gets a decent run, but it doesn't look like it's quite good enough to really close the gap. He's just holding on to that back bumper.
Yeah, it's very difficult. These straights are long, but almost not long enough to get a good enough run on someone to get on the inside. We are pretty more likely to see that hard braking that we were seeing before. These guys making really dangerous dive bombs into the corners.
Yeah, Van Luzenoord looked much more confident into turn 2 there than Clays did on the entry, but it wasn't enough for him to be able to make a ground on him. Let's see if he can do something heading towards this first chicane. Takes a little bit of a peek, nothing doing right there, and now Van Reeth closes up on the back of him. Also, Mark does as well, just closing up that gap. Well behind them, actually, is Guido Decker in 8th place right now.
So there's contact. Martin Van Luzenoord just went on the inside. He got touched on Steve Clay's nose. He got spun around going to the second chicane.
Van Luzenoord losing a ton of time as he gets that car out of the sand trap and back onto the track. He's slowing down, though, now. I wonder if, yeah, it looks like he got a slowdown penalty from cutting through there. So he lost even more time now, and that has got to hurt him, especially in this championship.
Yeah, he was looking really good, too. He got a very good run out of the first chicane, got him run, and tried to go on the inside into the second chicane, and just squeezed Stephen Clays a little bit too much to the outside of the corner, just didn't give him enough room and spun himself around.
Well, and then there were 3. Now it's Clays, Benselven, and Van Reeth. Although Van Reeth is the leader of the 3 now, so I guess Clays must have lost a position somewhere in there.
Meanwhile, back up to the second position, Kevin Duvel and Gerrit van den Nulft are battling out. Van den Nulft tried to make a move into turn 1 on the outside, didn't quite get it, but he's definitely pressuring him.
Now, what are some of the good passing zones around here, Ayrton? What are the places that these guys are going to be looking out for to get an opportunity?
Well, the turn 1, turn 2 section is actually very good for passing because you can pass on the inside or outside if you get run for turn 2 after turn 1. The first chicane is pretty popular passing zone as well, but I don't think it's very easy to pass. I think one of the best ones is the second chicane or the hairpin on the other side of the track.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few guys peek on the inside of the hairpin. It's a little bit more straightforward than some of these chicanes where you have to be thinking not just about the entry, but the exit, and also if the other guy is going to fight hard enough that you have to go side by side. But it looks like Van den Nulft has lost touch a little bit as Duvel stretches out that gap, and now they accordion back on the hairpin and accelerate away out of turn 8 there. So he's got a little bit of breathing space and still holding on to that second place. And this is what he needs in this championship to just continue on getting those podiums. He's doing pretty well right now, holding at 86 points. So I don't think he needs to worry too much with such a large gap back to Van Luzenoord. And with Van Luzenoord down in 7th right now, he's really got a nice little buffer going on as far as points goes if it finishes like this.
Yeah, and one of the unique things about this track is just all the different lines and how some drivers are fast in certain sections while slower in other sections. We see Gerrit van den Nulft has closed up again while he was lost a lot of time in the middle section of the track. So he closes up in the final section and the beginning section, but in that middle section he's a little bit slower than Duvel.
Well, let's actually hop back real quick. Bob van Someren and Eric Deneau are both having a very good battle back here for 8th and 9th, one of the lower point scoring positions. It looks like Van Someren lost a little bit out there, but he was on the attack into turn 1. Coming now out of turn 4. Oh, and just a little bit of a dip into the sand for Deneau and that lost him a bunch of speed as Van Someren is on the outside. He's going to try and outbrake him. Doesn't look like he has enough, but can Denol get slowed down? Yes, he does. Very good job on defending that position.
Yeah, it looked like Van Someren kind of gave up that position. He might have thought it was a little bit too dangerous to go too wide through that first chicane.
We're also getting word that Denol might have some damage on the front of that car, so that roof might be suffering in the straight line, it sounds like.
And that can really hurt him with a lot of these full throttle sections on this track.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's not huge straightaways on here, but it's just enough to hurt him. And obviously, he's got Van Someren all over the back. Whoa! Goes very defensive. They make a bit of contact. That was an incredibly aggressive move. I guess he didn't expect him to be able to get his nose in there. And Van Someren has to back off. Whoa, very squirrely car, as now he loses it, and it's a straight shot on through, up to 8th place for Van Someren.
Yeah, it looks like Van Someren was doing a really good job at pressuring Eric Denoj, and that definitely showed he made quite a few mistakes. And as he goes very wide into turn 1 as well, he's really struggling at the moment.
You know, I wonder if that contact might have just put a little bit of damage on that left rear of his roof, because it seems like he's not very confident in the corners now. He's struggling to control that car.
Yeah, he's dropping back as well in turn 2 as well, so his damage might actually have affected him a little bit.
So now that battle is out of the way, let's hop back up to the 2nd and 3rd place battle and see how that's going on between Kevin Duvel and Gerrit van der Nooft. Van der Nooft has dropped off a bit from what we can see. He's less than a second back, though, so he's just keeping in touch, just putting the pressure on continuously. They are only 13 minutes in, so they are past halfway in this first race here. He's going to have to make something happen, possibly in the next 5 laps before this thing's over.
Yep, and meanwhile, looks like Matthias Van Rieth passed Steve Clays for the 4th place position. We must have missed that.
I believe Van Rieth passed him back when there were some problems between Clays, Van Rieth, and Van Luzenoord, who's actually, Van Luzenoord is still well down in 7th at this point, not anywhere close for the number 15 of Mark Venselman. I'm sorry about that name, I'm just tripping up on it. So he's got a lot of work to do there. Let's hop back up to that 1st and 2nd. They are about almost 5 seconds back from Vakemans, who's just slowly been pulling away, running quite a good race on this first of 2 races today.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens in the 2nd race, though. If Kevin Vakemans have the speed to pull away this gap in this race, I'm interested to see how he'll do with all the traffic that will come in the 2nd race.
He seems to have done pretty well in the previous races. He's quite good battling door to door. But yeah, it's going to be a much harder thing for him to overtake 10 cars and get all the way back up to the front. It seems like we haven't had the sort of attrition that I would have expected. I know that Usarin was in the pits for a bit. I'm not sure if he is out. No, he seems to still be in the pits, and his car is smoking from what I'm seeing. As well as Mark Bank is out. Christopher DeWicker is out. And Jochen Petke is in the pits. So Guido Decker is currently our last car on track. He is in 12th position. So it looks like only 2 cars on track they're going to have to worry about not getting points at this point. And otherwise, those top 10 guys are looking at a points finish for this first of 2 races today. So that... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just mentioning that Kevin Vakemans has extended his lead pretty much 4 seconds on Kevin Duvel now, another 0.2 seconds gone.
So I'm running my way through the field here to check out if we've got any battles, and it looks like Peterson and Decker are having a very good one. That's for 11th and 12th, the last 2 positions on the track right now. Decker has gotten past Peterson somewhere along the line. That must have been recent. So we're getting word that Peterson might have been had an off earlier, so that obviously lost him the spot. Decker, he's usually a front runner, so he must have had some serious trouble early on for him to be so far back multiple times, I would imagine, because actually, where did Decker qualify? He was in 9th. Oh, maybe Decker, maybe he just doesn't fancy this track. I'm used to seeing him up in the top 5.
Yeah, and Peterson, he didn't qualify at all. He didn't put any times in practice, so he might not have the practice as well because he doesn't have any times at all.
What kind of stuff can you learn running in practice with the other cars around this track? What can that do for you? Because maybe he put some time in and testing with nobody else around, but I have to imagine it's quite different having others around you.
Well, definitely running too wide is very difficult on this track, especially with the chicanes and fast corners. Neither fast corners or chicanes are very easy to drive too wide around, but if he's just been doing testing, that's going to be pretty difficult for him because making passes is really difficult. Finding the places to make passes is very difficult. Getting runs and braking very late and driving on the inside line constantly on the inside line to pass people. So that might not be the most ideal way to practice, but if it works for him, then that's fine.
And I think Decker's pulling away just a little bit, so that I don't think this battle is really on anymore. Let's jump back up to Duvel and Van den Hooft because I saw they were quite close for a little bit. Van den Hooft seems to have dropped back once again. He's got a bit of a yo-yo thing going on. Just can't quite seem to hold right onto the back of that roof of Duvel. And that little orange and white car has been holding quite steady. Seems to handle pressure pretty well, it looks like.
Yeah, he might just be waiting for Duvel to make a mistake as he actually closed in a lot into that second chicane. He looks to be pretty good for that corner. But yeah, he might just be keeping his distance and waiting for Duvel to make a mistake and then pouncing.
We also heard word from our spotter that Peterson has some damage, so that explains why he was having some trouble and dropping back probably. But let's stay on this little battle that we've got for second place. It's been going on for pretty much the entire race here, between Van den Hooft and that yellow and black car, and Duvel and the orange and white machine.
Meanwhile, they do have a lap car of Yoke and Peth right in front of them, so that might have an effect on this battle a little bit.
Yeah, this could be what you were talking about, Van den Hooft looking for an opportunity, just holding back and waiting for something to come his way. Let's see, it looks like Petke stays wide. It's good racing from him to be aware, although it looks like he's going to be just almost in the way of Van den Hooft who avoids him. That's going to compromise his exit. He loses just a little bit of time, not a whole lot, but unfortunately it didn't work in the way of Van den Hooft in trying to close that gap.
Meanwhile, a battle going on for the 6th place position. Martin van Luzenoord is fighting really hard with Mark Bensvilsen and just got the position, but they are too wide for almost 3 corners straight after passing the start-finish line, and Martin van Luzenoord is going to get back up to 6th position.
Slowly but surely trying to make up for that off he had earlier when he had a little bit of contact. Unfortunate for Mark that he couldn't hold him off. We're running out of time. Actually, we could be on the final lap here, I think, because we have about 5 seconds left to go from what I'm seeing. So it looks like we are on the last lap. Let's hop over to Kevin Vankemans, who's been leading pretty much the whole way after a challenge early on. He's coming up to the final corner. I believe he's going to be taking the checkered flag this time by. Through the left and then through the right, staying wary of those little curves. Let's see if we pull the checkers out as he comes up to the start-finish line. No, I don't believe we got it this time by. So it looks like we might have one more lap to go with Kevin Vankemans. He's got about a 5-second gap back to Duvel in second. He's been holding on very well, but like you said, Ayrton, it's going to be a whole different story come the next race.
Yeah, that's going to be where the real racing comes in, with a lot of traffic and a lot of fast guys mixing up with the guys who might just be a little bit slower. So as of now, the guy who will be starting in first will be Heinz Wemmer.
And that might be just a bit of a wake-up call for poor Wemmer, as he's almost a whole minute back after just 20 minutes of racing, so his pace seems to be quite a bit different from those guys up front. But that's why this series tends to put on some really good races. Vankemans going through the second chicane now, still got that large gap. All he's got to do is bring it home. Behind him, Duvel and Van den Hooft have spread out just a little bit. I don't think there's going to be anything happening there unless, again, there is a mistake between them. Now coming up to the hairpin for Kevin Vankemans, the number 8 Porsche in that red and white machine, taking it nice and tidy all the way out to the curb, now through the little squiggle of turn 9 and up towards that final chicane. White flag is in fact out. This should be the checkered flag this time by. Race 1 of round 3 looks like it's going to be for Vakemans. Takes that final corner, gets onto the power, coming up to the checkered flag, goes up to the side and weaves in celebration as he takes the win. Meanwhile, back in second, Kevin Duvel coming up for his second place, taking a podium. Same thing for Gert van den Hooft, who takes third.
Matthias Van Reeth is going to take in fourth, and Steve Clays in fifth place.
So an excellent top 5 for Clays. Van Luzenoord, unfortunately, that mistake has really cost him. Down in 6th, he could have been looking at possibly a 4th, I imagine. But a couple spots for him have been lost. Mark Benselven, who has come home in 7th, and Bob Van Sommeren is coming home in 8th as he comes across the line just now, it looks like. Meanwhile, behind him, Eric Deneau coming home in 10th as he comes through the chicane, and well back is Heinz Wimmer bringing up the final of the point-scoring positions. We've got a couple more cars to come across the line. Guido Decker definitely having a bad day for him as he finishes 11th, just outside of the reverse positions. So he's not going to have the advantage of starting a little bit farther up. Peterson is very much struggling with his car as he spins it out in the final corner, but he's got nobody to worry about with Jochen Petke multiple laps down. He must have some serious damage. He's struggling to get that car going. It is not looking healthy as he finally gets it accelerating across the line. That's the last of him. So we are going to go to break as we wait for the next race to come up. We'll see you in a moment on the other side. Welcome back to the Gentleman's Trophy at Circuit Zolder. We're getting ready for race 2 in the Roof European Trophy. Last time by, it was Kevin Vakemans who took the win, but he is going to start in reverse order, where they're going to grid very soon. We've got about a few seconds left, it looks like, before warm-up is over, so we're going to get to see that grid and tell you what it looks like. But boy, was that some fierce battles going on in that previous race, wasn't it, Ayrton?
Oh yeah, there was a very fierce battle for second, and a good group for fourth place as well. So definitely a lot of competition. The guys are really close in speed, which makes it really nice. It should be interesting to see how they deal with traffic now.
Yeah, it's going to be a completely different story. They are gridding up now, so here is what your grid is going to look like with them reversed in the top 10. Heinz Wimmer is starting on pole. Eric de Nolge is starting in second. Bob van Sommeren in third. Mark Benselven in fourth. Martin van Luzenoord is starting fifth. Steve Claes is in sixth. Matthias van Rieth in seventh. Gerrit van den Hooft in eighth. Kevin Duvel in ninth. Kevin Vekeman starting in 10th. Then Guido Dekker in 11th. Kjeld Petersen in 12th. Jochen Petke in 13th, Christopher De Vicker in 14th, and Erwin Userin in 15th. They're getting gridded up and waiting for those lights to drop. We've got what looks like about 10 more seconds before the lights should be coming on. They're getting their engines revved up and ready to go. Going to be an interesting one with a bit of a difference in pace in these top guys, especially Wimmer on pole. Lights just went out. They're back up now. Oh, and we had someone jump the start. I think that was Mark, actually. Green flag waves. Mark's had a bad start after he jumps it. He's going to have a terrible time. Wimmer is off and away. De Nolge is actually also had an awful start. Meanwhile, whoa, we've got some cars that are actually making contact. A lot of cars off. We got a car rolling over. And another car weighing off. Christopher De Vicker is off going through the sand. That was Guido Dekker who was rolling over and gets his car going once again. Bad start for a lot of guys here, Ayrton.
Yeah, meanwhile, Bob van Sommeren has got up into second place, and Eric de Nolge in third with Van Luzenoord right behind him, pressuring, and he should be up there in the front pretty soon because he's one of the faster guys who did not finish well last race.
Yeah, he's really going to have to take advantage of this and try to get himself a good finish and keep him in the hunt here. Whoa, Heinz Wimmer cuts the chicane. He's going to get a slowdown. That allows other cars to stream on past, and Eric de Nolge is going to be able to take advantage the most as Bob van Sommeren got checked up. Meanwhile, Martin van Luzenoord is in second, looks on the inside into the chicane, isn't quite able to do it, but he holds on to it. Very close moment for Sommeren as he almost gets hit by Claes, who now has to check up, and Kevin Duvel is on the back of him.
Meanwhile, Matthias van Rieth got spun around in that second chicane by Gerrit van den Hooft.
And Kevin Vekemans got clipped, it sounds like, by Gerrit van den Hooft. I'm not sure if you just mentioned that, actually.
No, that was Matthias van Rieth.
At any rate, Heinz Wimmer currently is much farther down than he started. But actually, we've got a pass for the lead. Martin van Luzenoord was able to sneak into the lead past De Nolge, and De Nolge is just having trouble. This thing has caused chaos with this reverse grid. Bob van Sommeren is looking to try and get into second place as he is on the inside of De Nolge, but he's not quite able to outbrake him. De Nolge goes very wide. He loses control, and van Sommeren is able to just sneak by before turn 2. De Nolge comes back at him, almost touches that right rear corner, but just keeps out of him. Very close racing from these guys as Sommeren keeps himself up into second place. Meanwhile, as I said, van Luzenoord taking advantage of all the chaos going on around him, the only one able to really keep clear of everybody else and just run it away with the lead.
Meanwhile, Kevin Duvel and Steve Claes are battling it out for the fourth position. They're switching back and forth between turns 1, 2, and 3 quite a bit, and now Stephen Claes right behind as Kevin Duvel makes the pass.
So Duvel has moved himself up into, I believe that is that 6th place? Oh,
fourth,
and we've got an accident right in front of them. Yes, that looks like that's Van Sommeren and De Nolge, actually, who are around, and they're trying to get themselves turned around in all this traffic, and De Nolge runs into, who is that? Erwin Userin, who he actually made contact with, and now Userin is going to get in front of Christopher De Wick. A lot of guys not really checking the track very well before they start to pull back on. These guys have really got to check and make sure that they've got a clear track before they pull across here.
Meanwhile, Heinz Zwemmer just passed Steve Clays, and he's back in third place. As Steve Clays goes on the inside again into the final chicane. He drives in too deep, and Heinz Zwemmer goes up again, once again, as Stephen Clays now has pressure from his teammate Van Rieth.
So Zwemmer is definitely not giving up this gift he's been given by starting on pole, trying to hold on to it. Clays and Van Rieth and Vekemans, all teammates, are together at this point. They're trying to battle it out. These guys got to get it sorted out because they do have the pace over Zwemmer. They just have to figure out how to get past them, all three of those guys. So a lot of stuff going on all around the track, a lot to keep track of. As currently we've got Van Loosenord leading the way. Kevin Duvel currently in second, trying to make good after starting well back. Heinz Zwemmer currently in third. Steve Clays in fourth. Van Rieth in fifth. And Kevin Vekemans holding down sixth as they get all clogged up coming to that first chicane. And currently it looks like Clays is the one that got holed up the most as Van Rieth looks on the outside and Clays is looking on the inside as Zwemmer. There's not enough room. Van Rieth gets tipped off, but Zwemmer is able to hold on to the position, just holding on to the car as Clays is still trying to look for a way past. Vekemans got checked up. All these guys are just very much in a hurry with only 20 minutes in this race to try and make up positions.
Meanwhile, Vekemans goes on the outside of his teammate into the hairpin, and he's going to look to get a run, but just not enough to get by Clays. And now Van den Ulft is right behind them now.
Yeah, all that battling is losing them time. They've got to make something decisive happen as Zwemmer has, that was Clays, taking a look on the inside of the chicane, but not close enough to make it happen. Everyone behind has to check up as Vekemans gets held up, and Van den Ulft loses a lot with all the momentum that he lost back there. So Zwemmer lives to fight on another day as we enter into lap 4 here with Clays and Vekemans still trying to hunt him down. Very good run by Clays as he looks on the inside of 2. This time I think he's got it done as he's clear well before the apex, trying to get a crossover from Zwemmer, and it looks like he might have it. There's contact possibly as now we've got, I think, is that Clays that went off? Yes, yeah. That's Clays.
Yeah, he got touched by Vekemans, might have gotten some suspension damage and made his car unable to drive. Yeah, it looks like he's really struggling now.
Vekemans just made contact with Zwemmer, who had a bad run coming out of 4, and now Zwemmer is going to lose a spot to Van den Ulft, who gets by before the chicane. Vekemans, though, has moved himself up into 3rd position now, but not without a few war wounds along the way.
Yeah, it looks like Steve Clays is definitely struggling now. He just got hit in the suspension enough. His car's undrivable now.
So those 3 teammates all had contact at some point along the line, I think. Those guys are going to have some stern words amongst each other along the way. Van Rieth continuing to drop. Same thing with Zwemmer. Van den Ulft has moved himself well up, though. A number of these guys trying to make good out of all this chaos. We'll see what it looks like as they cross the line because things are very much shuffled around. Meanwhile, back up at the front, Van Loosenord has about a 2-second gap to Duvel. Duvel's been closing in on him. We're not quite halfway in, so Duvel has a fair bit of time to try and continue to hunt him down for the lead.
Actually, the gap is now 1 second. Duvel just closed in a whole second in that previous lap.
Yeah, and you can see physically in the same frame now as he tries to hunt him down, closing in corner by corner. But as we've seen, it's one thing to catch a car, it's a whole nother to try and get by. Let's jump back to Van Rieth, who is currently having a battle with Zwemmer. He's looking on the inside, coming into 3, but he's not quite close enough. He has to check up, and it's not heavy braking coming into 4. He's going to have to focus on a good exit here as they come out of it. Now onto that backstretch toward the chicane. He's pretty close. He's got the draft. Is he going to take a peek coming into it? Yes, he takes a look on the inside, but he's not close enough. Has to back out of it. And it's going to be a cut course for Zwemmer, who completely misses the chicane. And now it's an easy pass for Van Rieth. And it now up next is Van den Ulft as he tries to hunt down that yellow and black car. So let's jump back up to Duvel, who has closed that gap. Now he is right on the back end of Van Loosenord. Van Loosenord is going to have a more than well over half the race to hold back that orange and white car. He is closing up under braking, but he lost quite a bit on that last straightaway. We'll have to see if he can get a good launch out of these next few corners to try and close up that gap.
And these are the two championship leaders as well, so Van Loosenlord has to keep in front in order to close that gap on Duvel in the championship.
Yes, and as mentioned before, Van Loosenord is currently second in the points, so this is very much directly affecting both of these guys. Duvel's got to want to get in front of him so that Loosenord cannot close up that gap in points. And it doesn't seem like Duvel's been able to make progress. Now, I know these cars need a bit of aero, but I would have figured with them having very good mechanical grip that Duvel wouldn't really be affected by being too close to Van Loosenord, Ayrton.
Yeah, he seemed to close in a second, and then he's only closed in about 3/10 in this previous lap as they're passing the lap car of, I believe that is Stephen Clay's. His damaged car is limping around the track at the moment. And yeah, he hasn't gained that much time. I think he's just, he got lucky with Loosenlord making a mistake in the previous lap where he closed in a lot.
So Van Loosenord, I guess, trying to minimize that, trying to focus back down and minimize the mistakes. I believe we switched to Van Sommeren, who is currently trying to hunt down Heinz Zwemmer, who is behind Eric de Nolge, and this is for the 8th, 9th, and 10th position, as these guys are very close coming through that second chicane.
Right behind them is Christoph Dewikier as well, ready to pounce if any of them make a mistake.
Yeah, de Nolge is doing a pretty good job holding him off right now. Zwemmer is very close and just makes a little bit of contact. Now de Nolge goes defensive, and this means that Zwemmer actually overshot the corner. He is under attack by Van Sommer, and they make contact, but both manage to hold on. Now they've got De Vicker right behind them. These guys really need to give a little bit more space coming through that little squiggle of 9. I've seen a number of guys just not give enough room. Zwemmer gets a bad exit out of that final corner, and that means Van Sommeren is going to cruise on by. Oh, and they make contact once again down the front straightaway. These guys need a little bit more awareness as they exit these corners. It seems like everybody's just getting tipped right and left.
Looks like Bob Van Sommeren has a little bit of damage. He might have hit his suspension a little bit because he was wiggling a lot in turn 1 and wiggling a lot in turn 2 as well. So he's got some damage on that suspension.
That is an ill-handling car if I ever seen one. And Zwemmer, is trying to find a way past. Takes a look on the inside of 4, not quite close enough to make Hammond. Meanwhile, he got a bad run, so that means Christopher De Vick is on the outside, and it looks like he is going to clear him well before the chicane. Oh, and then Sommeren comes back at him. He brakes very, very late. I can't believe he got that position back. That was incredible braking from Zwemmer to get himself back up into 9th.
Yeah, I've noticed that Hans Zwemmer is doing quite a bit of aggressive driving. At some points it's paying off, but he's also being quite dangerous of some of the other drivers.
So let's hop back up to Van Reeth, and he is currently trying to hunt down Van de Nooft coming through that last chicane. And Van de Nooft has a squiggle. It looks like he lost control just momentarily, but holds it together. But now he's got Van Reeth right behind him, less than a car length back. Van Reeth takes a look on the inside, brakes. Actually, whoa! I think Van de Nooft gave up the ghost on that one.
He was braking on the straight, might have gotten a slowdown from the previous chicane, but he's attacking again. He's going on the outside of turn 2, looking to try to make a crossover now, but not quite getting the run on Van Reeth at the moment.
Yeah, just trying to find his way past. But let's hop back up to the lead, because actually, I'm sorry, there's a change in lead, I think. Duvel has gotten past Van Loosenord, who looks like he's gotten a slowdown. Yeah,
Yep, just looked at the replay. He got a slowdown in the first chicane, so that's going to cost him.
And that goes back to what we were saying about minimizing these mistakes and what little time you have, especially with these chicanes. A lot of guys are going to or have fallen afoul of that. Duvel, meanwhile, just seems a class above the rest as he's got quite a gap back to Loosenord in second place. Behind them, Vekemans holding down third pretty quietly after all the chaos that he was amidst with his teammates earlier on. And Gerrit van de Nooft is a bit of ways back in fourth. I'm sorry, that was Van de Nooft is in fifth. Van Reeth is in fourth, since we just watched that pass a little bit earlier. So these guys holding down the top 5 Kjeld Peterson, he's been doing a pretty good job, actually. He wasn't too high up last time, and he's in 6th place currently. So he's taking advantage of some guys having a bad race to get himself up there, Ayrton.
Yeah, I believe he was one of the guys who had very bad damage in the first race, so this is a good chance for him to get back and get up some more points.
So let's jump back to Christopher De Vicker, who is currently right behind Heinz Wimmer. These guys have been battling for a bit. They've got Eric De Nolge in front of him, but he's been able to scamper off a little bit. Zwemmer goes defensive down the front straightaway, and behind him it looks like De Vicker just falls back into line. Now braking for turn 1. There's nothing doing right now for these guys, but it's been pretty hot between them for most of the race, and we've only got 5 minutes left, Ayrton.
Yeah, he's definitely putting some pressure, and Zwemmer does have some damage on his front, so that might hurt his top speed. As he's getting a run now, entering turn 4, he looks a little bit to the inside. He's actually going to try to make a pass, but doesn't quite have it. It's a difficult corner to pass on. But I'm seeing a little bit of smoke. Did a car spin out in front?
I believe that was just actually a bit of dust in the air from going off into the sand trap. That would have been Eric De Nolge in front of them, I believe. And now heading through that chicane. Woo! Oh, bad chicane for Heinz Wimmer, who almost completely misses it, but it looks like he avoided the slowdown penalty. But now he's lost out severely to De Vicker, who has moved himself up into 9th. Oh, and
Meanwhile,
I'm sorry.
Noj actually just went off, and he's going to get passed by both of these two now because he's going to get a slowdown penalty as well.
It looks like he's only lost 1 spot as De Vicker just got past, but he had a bad exit out of turn 7 there. And now De Nolge is going to be able to get on back by. These guys are just all over the place. They've really got to work on those mistakes. Meanwhile, behind them, Zwemmer is back into the game. And look at that, right on top of the bumper as De Vicker is looking to push him by. Derek De Nolge takes a defensive line coming into this last chicane, and it looks like he's able to outbrake him as De Vicker decides it is better to fight another day, but De Nolge outbreaks himself, and now that holds up De Vicker, who is under threat from Zwemmer. He goes to the right, Zwemmer looks to the inside, now weaving to look on the inside of De Nolge. It looks like he's going to be able to outbreak him, but no, he holds back, and Zwemmer goes around the outside of turn 1, so very early braking from De Vicker. I don't think that was a very good move from him into turn 1 there, Ayrton.
Yeah, I think it was just afraid to go too wide with De Nolge and end up getting attacked by Zwemmer. That was very good opportunistic driving from Zwemmer.
Yeah, these guys very much have to keep their head on a swivel. Everyone is just all over the place. Places swapping back and forth. Heinz Wimmer gets a bad run coming out of 4. De Vicker is closing up. I don't think he's... Nope, he's not going to be close enough to try and make it happen coming into the chicane. In fact, I believe he backed out of that one to try and put some space between those guys. So now it's finally starting to chill out as these guys are getting some track space and maybe finally run a few laps on their own.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm looking up at...
Oh, I'm sorry, De Nolge missed it yet again for the 2nd time in a row, and this time he actually exits out, so De Nolge has had enough. I'm not sure if he had damage or what there, but this is going to give a spot to both De Vicker and Zwemmer.
Yep, meanwhile, with going back up to Kevin Vekemans, he is closing the gap on Martin van Luzenoord at the moment, who's actually losing time to Kevin Duvel. So maybe before the end of this race, Vekemans might try to catch up to 2nd place and make a pass.
Last time by, it was about 4 seconds between them from what I'm seeing, and doesn't look like it's that on track, so he must have gained a bit of time even since the start-finish line, as Van Luzenoord having a bit of trouble with that chicane, very shaky looking through there. Vekemans trying to hunt him down, looking to improve that podium spot. Where is Vekemans in the championship? He is actually currently sitting in 6th, so if he can get one more spot, he's behind Van Luzenoord in the points. That'll really help him.
Yeah, especially after winning the first race, he's going to have a good chunk of points.
Yeah, I'm certain that this is going to move him up when we enter into round 4 in 2 weeks' time. So very well done to Vekemans trying to make good on this weekend after what was, I guess, not a stellar opening 2 rounds for him since he is down in 5th. But it looks like Kevin Duvel continues to lead up front. He's got about a 3.5 second lead last time by. Let's see what it is as Van Luzenoord comes across the line. It looks like just about 3.5 seconds still. So Van Luzenoord continuing to hold station. Meanwhile, Vekemans, though, has cut it down to about 3 seconds, less than 3 seconds. So you're right. He is very much closing in, but he might run out of time. Actually, he is going to run out of time, I think, unless Van Luzenoord has a mistake, because we've got about a minute left to go.
Yeah, Vekemans ran a 134.6 last time by, which is pretty much qualifying pace for these guys, so he's definitely charging.
And we'll have to stick with this because I'm not sure if we've got the white flag this time by with about 30 seconds left on the clock. Duvel coming up to that second chicane. He did very excellent in that first race. He's going to do excellent again now with the win in this second race, possibly as long as nothing goes wrong. He's got a fair gap if he can just keep the mistakes out. He's got a clear run all the way to the end here. Although he's this is lap traffic he's coming up to. I see that Jochen Petke is in front of him and losing time quickly. Let's hope that Petke is able to just get out of the way and not affect this championship here. So Duvel coming down the stretch and closing under braking quite a lot, and now it looks like Petke moves out of the way, doesn't hold him up too much. As Duvel comes to the line, are we going to get the checkered flag this time by? It doesn't look like it. It looks like white flag this time by for Kevin Duvel. One more lap to go with a 3.5 second still gap back to Martin Van Luzenoord. And then behind them, Kevin Vekemans has closed in just a little bit more, but it's not quite enough. So let's jump back to a battle with Christopher De Vicky, who is trying to get by Heinz Wimmer. Still, these guys have been quite close, almost made contact into the hairpin as Wimmer is able to hold him off. That really hurt the momentum of De Vicker there.
Yeah, it looks like these guys have been fighting really hard, trying to make some passes that are very difficult to make. So definitely some aggressive driving from both of them.
Well, they're also very closely matched from what we've seen. They've been fighting for most of the race, and neither one can seem to get away from the other. But it's certainly made for some fantastic battle between these two guys. It's a shame that Eric Denolge has left it, because the three-way battle was just fantastic for a while. Meanwhile, let's go back to Kevin Duvel, because he is coming into the end of this lap. He is coming up to the hairpin. He's got just 2 more corners to go after this one. Well done to him in both of these rounds.
Yeah, I'm expecting that he probably will extend its point leads after this these 2 sprint races, so definitely looking good for the championship.
Yes, Duvel, once again, a class of the field, checkered flag out now, this time by as he comes to the line. Duvel weaving in celebration and takes the win on the race 2 of round 3. Meanwhile, Martin Van Luzenoord is going to come home in second. Behind him, Kevin Vekemans just run out of time to try and close the gap, as he actually lost time that time. But Kevin Vekemans completing the podium. Matthias Van Rieth, oh, not much of a gap. Actually, no, I'm sorry, that was a lap car behind him. Van Rieth coming home 4th. Gerrit van den Hooft completing the top 5. Kjeld Petersen has got a ways to go, but he's in 6th, and he doesn't have anybody around him coming up to the chicane. Very well done for Petersen to try and salvage a better finish this time around, Ayrton.
Yeah, definitely some good driving after the unfortunate events from last race. But just going back on the battle with Christoph De Vicky and Heinz Wimmer, they had contact in the second chicane, and Heinz Wimmer had to exit his car, so he's going to lose that possible 8th place position.
It's a shame to see such a great battle have to end with contact that causes someone unable to finish. Van Sommeren took 7th, and Christopher De Vicky took 8th, with Mark Benselven in 9th and Heinz Wimmer completing the top 10 there. So, race results one more time, unofficially. Kevin Duvel taking 1st, Martin Van Luzenoord taking 2nd here in race 2. Kevin Vekemans completing the podium. Matthias Van Rieth takes 4th. Gerrit van den Hooft is 5th. Kjeld Petersen was 6th. Bob Van Sommeren 7th. Christopher De Vicker in 8th. Mark Benselven in 9th. Erwin Userin in 10th. Heinz Wimmer in 11th. Jochen Petke in 12th. Eric Denolge in 13th. Steve Clays way far down in 14th. And Guido Decker, very bad day for him, finishing 15th overall. But it's been an exciting one, Ayrton. I know this was your first time calling it with me. What are your thoughts on this series now that you've been introduced?
Well, I thought the first race was pretty ordinary, and then the second one was completely chaotic.
Yeah, chaotic is definitely a good way to sum up this series, but it's a good chaos as these guys give us a lot of excitement week in and week out, and it's been a joy as always to call this. But we're going to close up for the day. We want to give a few thank yous. Obviously, thank you to UGX Simulators, the sponsor for the Roof European Trophy. Thank you to Guido Decker, the organizer of this league, who puts in a lot of hours to make this thing happen. Thank you to the software and hardware that we use to make our broadcasts happen. That would be iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, and AverMedia. Also, thank you to our team. Thanks to Kevin and Ayrton. Also, thank you to Richard Losper, our spotter for today. If you would like to find out more about the Global Sim Racing channel, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Special thank you goes out to Eric Ekholm, who provides us with much of our music. You can find it not only here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. Additional thanks go out to Casey Lalonde, who provides us with music for our broadcasts as well. You can find out more of his music at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. Our next race is going to be at Silverstone here for the Roof European Trophy. That'll be Sunday, March 16th at 7:15 p.m. UTC. Our next broadcast, however, for the GreenValleyLake.com MX5 World Tour is going to be at Charlotte. That's Saturday, March 8th at 7 p.m. UTC. Piston Cup is going to be at Daytona on Sunday, March 9th at 6:45 UTC. Also, the Enduro Pro Series, look out for that one at Laguna Seca on Saturday, March 15th. That'll be at 3:45 p.m. UTC. Meanwhile, the Northwest Majors is going to be at Sebring. That'll be also on Saturday on March 16th at 1:30 a.m. UTC. And, of course, the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series will also be at Sebring. That'll be Saturday, March 22nd at 10:30 p.m. UTC. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.